My aunt told everyone I was stealing from Grandma until I showed the security footage in court. I want the footage shown now, the judge said, his voice firm and his eyes locked on Aunt Lena. She looked pale, lips twitching as she leaned into her lawyer. Can't we discuss this in chambers? She whispered, but the courtroom was already still. I stood up slowly. My palms were slick, my heart thudded loud in my ears as I walked to the screen and plugged in the USB. The monitor blinked. Then the hallway appeared. The timestamp read 2:14 p.m. last Wednesday. There she was, my aunt, entering Grandma's room while she napped in her recliner. She moved like she'd done it before. Opened the jewelry box on the dresser, pulled out the pearl necklace Grandma only wore on birthdays, looked around, and dropped it into her handbag. People gasped. Someone muttered, "Oh my God." Grandma, sitting beside me, clutched my arm. Her eyes were wide and wet. I swallowed the bile rising in my throat and reminded myself to breathe. But let's rewind a little. Let me tell you how we got here. It all started after Grandma's second fall. She broke her hip climbing down the porch stairs because she didn't want to bother anyone. My parents had both passed years ago, so it was mostly just me and her. Aunt Lena lived across town, but never really made herself available beyond holiday appearances or the occasional drop-in where she'd criticize the dust on the blinds or Grandma's old slippers. After the hospital stay and rehab, it was clear Grandma couldn't live alone anymore. She was getting confused, misplacing medicine, forgetting meals, once even turning on the stove and walking away. I had already been visiting several times a week, so I made the decision to move in. "Don't give up your life for her," Aunt Lena had said with a sniff, arms crossed tightly, her diamond bracelet flashing under the kitchen light. "You're young. Let a professional take care of her." But Grandma didn't want a stranger in her house, and I couldn't stomach the thought of her alone in some facility where nurses were stretched too thin to care. So I moved in, took my freelance editing gigs online, rearranged my schedule. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't always easy, but it felt right. At first, things were manageable. We settled into a routine, me handling meds, meals, bills, helping her bathe when she needed it. I set up auto pay for utilities, ordered groceries online, and, to make sure everything was accountable, installed a small indoor camera system. Grandma was forgetful, and sometimes she'd accuse me of hiding things when they were just misplaced. The cameras helped us both feel more grounded. And yes, I got her full permission. But then came the tension. It started small. Aunt Lena would stop by unannounced, and suddenly Grandma would be anxious. "Why did you buy this brand of oatmeal? Lena says the other one has more fiber." Or she'd ask where her wedding ring was, one I'd watched her put away weeks ago, and forget. Somehow, these questions always came after Lena's visits. Then, one afternoon, Lena came over while I was helping Grandma with her physical therapy exercises. "You look tired," she told Grandma, sitting down stiffly on the edge of the couch. "Is everything okay here? I mean, are you sure you're being taken care of properly?" I paused mid-stretch. "She's doing great. We've got a routine, and the physical therapist is coming twice a week." Aunt Lena didn't look at me, just kept her fake smile plastered as she squeezed Grandma's hand. "If you ever need anything, money or a place to stay, you can call me. I worry about you." That night, Grandma asked if I was mad at her. I said of course not, but a pit began to grow in my stomach. Something was off. The tone Lena used, the way she tried to plant doubt. It felt calculated. It got worse. She started calling me at weird hours, accusing me of ignoring texts I never received. Then she told family friends I wasn't letting her see Grandma. One cousin even messaged me, "Why are you isolating your grandmother?" I was shocked. I showed them screenshots. I shared Grandma's call log. I even offered a Zoom call with Grandma herself. Still, they were hesitant. Lena had always been the charming one, the fundraiser, the choir volunteer, the good daughter. Then, one day, the bomb dropped. I got home from picking up Grandma's prescriptions and found 2 police officers on the porch. "Miss Rodriguez?" one of them asked. "We received a report of elder abuse and suspected theft. May we come inside?" My legs turned to jelly. I let them in. Grandma was napping. They looked around, asked me questions. I showed them the medication logs, grocery receipts, explained everything calmly. Then they said Lena had reported several pieces of jewelry missing. "Family heirlooms," one said. "She claims your grandmother was too scared to speak up." I could barely speak. I took them to the DVR unit connected to the cameras, showed them how the footage is backed up daily. One of them raised his eyebrows. "That's surprisingly organized." I offered to hand over whatever footage they needed. They left politely, but I was shaking by the time they drove off. That night, I told Grandma everything. She was confused at first. "But Lena wouldn't do that," she kept saying. "She's my daughter." Then she started to cry. Over the next few days, things spiraled. The story spread in the family like wildfire. I was a thief, a manipulator, a leech who was after the will. People who hadn't spoken to me in years started posting vague things online. Someone even threatened to expose me if I didn't confess. Confess to what? I stopped sleeping. I stopped eating. I started watching every move I made in the house, afraid someone would twist it. Grandma, God bless her, tried to reassure me, but I could see the doubt creeping into her too. The manipulation was working. Then Lena's lawyer sent a letter. She was filing for guardianship over Grandma, claimed I was unfit, emotionally unstable, and financially dependent. She wanted Grandma declared mentally unfit and moved to a care home, one her friend conveniently ran. I was furious, but I knew anger wouldn't help. I gathered every receipt, every call log, every medical form. I printed out texts, messages, medication logs, and most importantly, I queued up the footage. There were days of it. Harmless, quiet days, but I found it. The moment I didn't even know she'd slipped. Wednesday, 2:14 p.m. Lena entering the bedroom, stealing from her own mother. I made copies. I gave one to my lawyer. We filed a response. We went to court. And that's where we are now. The screen plays. Her face is projected across the courtroom. The same mouth that called me a criminal. The same hands that took what wasn't hers. And now everyone is watching. Silence hung in the air like a blade suspended mid-swing. No one moved. No one breathed. The only sound was the hum of the projector as the footage played. My aunt's face was pale, her expression fixed in an unreadable mask. She didn't look at the screen. She didn't look at me. She just stared down at her lap, lips pressed together so tightly they disappeared. The judge didn't blink. "Is this the necklace in question?" he asked, pointing to the paused frame where Lena's hand clearly held the pearl string she had claimed I'd stolen. Her lawyer fidgeted, tugged at his tie, and leaned into her ear. She didn't respond. I looked around the room. Cousin Anthony sat in the third row, mouth slightly open. He was the one who had texted me the day Lena first accused me. "If you really took that jewelry, you're dead to me." Now he couldn't meet my eyes. My heart was racing, but I felt oddly detached, like I was floating outside myself, watching everything from a distance. The judge cleared his throat. "We'll take a short recess while we process this new evidence." I stepped outside, still shaking. My lawyer, Ms. Patel, touched my shoulder. "You did well. Let's keep it steady. They'll likely change course, maybe even withdraw the petition." "I don't care about the petition anymore," I muttered. "I care that she tried to ruin my life." Grandma was helped out of the courtroom by a bailiff. She looked so small, wrapped in her oversized cardigan. Her eyes found mine, and for the first time in weeks, there was clarity. "I'm sorry, mijo," she whispered. "I let her say too much. I didn't protect you." "You don't have to protect me," I said. "You just have to let the truth speak." Back inside, the air had changed. The smug confidence Lena had radiated when she first walked in had vanished. Now her lawyer stood, asking for time to review the footage. The judge granted it, barely. The rest of the afternoon was a blur. Lena's lawyer tried to argue the footage was taken out of context, that the jewelry might have already been promised to her, that perhaps it had been a misunderstanding, but it was too late. The footage didn't lie. Her body language, the way she snuck into the room, the silence she kept when confronted, it all painted the same picture. When court adjourned, the judge didn't yet rule on the guardianship petition, but he made it clear no changes would be made to Grandma's care until further notice, and Lena was temporarily barred from entering Grandma's home unless supervised. That should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. That night, I came home to find Grandma crying in her recliner, not just sniffling, weeping. I rushed over, heart pounding. "She's been calling," she said, clutching her flip phone in both hands, over and over, leaving messages, saying you edited the video, saying you're trying to kill me for the house. I took the phone from her gently and scrolled. 11 missed calls from an unknown number, 3 voicemails. My blood boiled as I played them on speaker. "I know what you're doing," Lena's voice hissed. "You think you've won? That was your last mistake. You're not even blood. You're not getting anything. Nothing. That was the cleanest of them." Grandma looked devastated. "Why is she doing this?" "Because she never wanted to take care of you," I wanted to say. "Because she only came around when there was a will or a ring or a house to fight over. Because she didn't see you as a person anymore. Just a thing to own or lose." But I couldn't say that. So I said, "Because she's scared. And guilty." I blocked the number, changed Grandma's voicemail settings, and called Ms. Patel to document everything. Then I sat down at the kitchen table and cried for the first time in weeks. Not just out of exhaustion, but grief for the family I thought I had. The next few days were tense. Word spread quickly. The same cousins who once reposted Lena's passive-aggressive Facebook rants were now deleting their comments or messaging me privately. "We didn't know," they said. "We thought she was just looking out for your grandma." One message stood out. It was from my mom's old friend Karen. "I'm so sorry. I've known Lena a long time. She always had a streak. When your mom passed, Lena told people your grandma wouldn't last 6 months, and the house would be on the market before winter. Guess she didn't count on you showing up. That message gutted me. I thought back to all the times Lena had offered to help by suggesting Grandma sell the house. I remembered the strange questions she'd asked about Grandma's bank accounts, the way she hovered when I opened the mail, or scolded me for wasting money on Grandma's physical therapy. It all clicked. This had never been about care. It was about control. The second court date was different. Lena didn't show. Her lawyer appeared alone and requested to withdraw from the case, citing conflicting interests. The judge approved it without hesitation. Then, he formally dismissed the guardianship petition and issued a restraining order, effective immediately, barring Lena from contacting either of us without legal representation. When we stepped outside, the sunlight hit me like a wave. Grandma squeezed my hand and said, "Let's go get pancakes." That was her way of celebrating. We went to the diner down the street, the one she used to take me to when I was little. She ordered blueberry with extra butter. I got black coffee and stared at the syrup bottle, still trying to make sense of everything. "I want to change my will," she said suddenly. "You don't have to," I started, but she waved me off. "I want to. I need to." I thought keeping it fair would keep the peace. But there's no peace when someone poisons it from the inside. I nodded. "Okay, I'll help." We met with a lawyer that week. She made me her medical and financial power of attorney. She updated her will. She even insisted we keep the cameras and install a couple more. "I trust you," she said, "but I don't trust them." And I understood. For a while, life went back to something like normal. Grandma's health stabilized. I went back to work. We baked cookies on Sundays and watched the same game shows every night. She'd fall asleep halfway through Wheel of Fortune and wake up swearing she guessed all the puzzles. But something in me had changed. I didn't look at family the same way anymore. Not after seeing how fast they turned on me. How easily they believed the worst. 3 weeks passed in an uneasy kind of peace. I tried to settle into it. Into a routine that didn't involve documenting every action, bracing myself for accusations, or checking the hallway camera every time I heard the door creak. Grandma seemed better too. More relaxed, less paranoid. We started taking small walks again. She even asked to go to the park one afternoon just to see the ducks and smell the trees. But just as I began to exhale, the first letter arrived. No return address. Just my name scrawled across the front in big loopy script. Inside was a single sheet of paper printed in all caps. "You think you've won, but the truth always comes out. You're not family, you're nothing." It wasn't signed, but I didn't need it to be. The second letter came 2 days later, then a third. They escalated. More venom, more lies. One claimed I was drugging Grandma to make her compliant. Another said I had faked the camera footage and should be investigated for elder trafficking, whatever that meant. I kept every one of them, scanned them, forwarded them to Ms. Patel. She was calm but firm. "This is harassment. We'll file for mail-related charges if necessary. You're not alone." But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was when one of the cousins, Marta, posted a photo on Facebook of Grandma at her last birthday party with the caption, "Hard to believe the kindest soul we know is now trapped in a house with a liar who fakes evidence. Justice for Lena." It got 22 likes in the first hour. A few people commented things like, "This is so sad, and someone should look into it." That post stayed up for 3 days. I didn't reply. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But I didn't. Grandma saw it too. Her hands trembled when she scrolled past it on her tablet. "Should I say something?" she asked. "No," I said quietly. "They don't want answers. They want drama." We filed another report, this time documenting the online defamation. Ms. Patel advised us to stay quiet publicly. But privately, I started making plans. It was clear that Lena's fall from grace wasn't going to be quiet or short-lived. Then came the phone call that truly shook me. It was late. I just finished washing dishes when my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I debated letting it go, but something in me said answer it. "Hello?" Silence. Then a slow exhale. Then, "You think you're smart, huh?" It was Lena. "You can't hide behind that old woman forever. She's not going to live forever. And when she's gone, we'll see who gets the house. You? You'll be out on your ass. A squatter, a fraud." "I'm reporting this call," I said, keeping my voice even. She laughed. "Go ahead. Add it to your little file. You think paper will save you?" Click. I stood in the kitchen for a long time after that. The light above the sink buzzed faintly. The faucet dripped once, twice. I realized I was gripping the counter so hard my knuckles had gone white. I didn't tell Grandma about that call. She was sleeping peacefully finally, and I wasn't going to shatter that. But something inside me hardened that night. I wasn't going to let her near us again. We upgraded our locks the next day. I bought a Ring camera for the front porch and motion lights for the backyard. Ms. Patel filed a formal restraining order violation with the court. We thought that might be the final nail, but Lena wasn't finished. One afternoon, I got a knock on the door. A man in a gray suit and too bright tie stood on the porch, holding a clipboard. Afternoon. I'm with Child and Adult Protective Services. We received an anonymous report concerning potential neglect in this residence. My stomach dropped. What kind of report? He glanced at his clipboard. Allegations of medical neglect. Claims that an elderly resident here is being isolated and potentially denied care. I wanted to scream. I wanted to rip the paper out of his hand and shove the camera footage into his face, but I didn't. I took a breath and invited him inside. Grandma was in the kitchen doing a crossword puzzle. She looked up and smiled when I introduced the visitor. Oh, are you selling something? The man looked surprised. No, ma'am. I'm just here to make sure everything's okay. She patted the seat next to her. Then sit down and have some juice. He takes good care of me. Better than my own daughter, if I'm being honest. He did a full inspection, checked the medicine cabinet, reviewed the care logs, even asked for proof of appointments. I had it all. Every receipt, every note from the visiting nurse, every dated delivery from the pharmacy. When he left, he shook my hand. You're doing a better job than most professionals. I'll be closing this case immediately. Still, I could see Grandma watching me afterward, her eyes clouded. What if she never stops? She asked. I didn't know how to answer. I thought about the people who had believed Lena without evidence, who had jumped to conclusions because the story sounded juicy. I thought about the way people weaponize concern to mask cruelty. That night, Grandma asked me to sleep in her room. Just in the armchair, she said. You snore too loud for the couch. I laughed and did as she asked. She didn't say it, but I knew she was scared. I was too. We were under siege, not physically, but reputationally, emotionally. And the worst part? Lena wasn't even hiding anymore. She started making public posts. Spun the story into a weird conspiracy where I had groomed Grandma into handing over control of the estate. She implied I'd falsified legal paperwork, that I was dangerous, even possibly mentally unstable. Somehow, some people still believed her, but others started pushing back. One comment under her rant read, "Didn't you get caught stealing your mom's jewelry on camera?" Another, "If this is true, why didn't the court side with you?" The tide was shifting, slowly, but it was. It was strange watching people change their tone so quickly. The same cousin who once commented, "I hope you rot," now sent me a 2-sentence DM. "Hey man, sorry for jumping to conclusions. Hope things are good." I didn't answer. I wasn't angry anymore. Not in the explosive, hot way I had been early on. Now it was more like cold sediment settling at the bottom of a glass. Disappointment that clung to everything. They had all seen me at family events. They had watched me push Grandma's wheelchair, fetch her plate first at dinners, carry her coat to the car, and still, it had only taken one manipulative woman with a sharp tongue to undo all of that. Reputation, it turns out, is fragile. Truth takes time to rebuild. Lies spread like gasoline. Grandma, meanwhile, was trying her best to live like none of it happened. She read books. She cooked when her arthritis allowed. She talked to her favorite neighbor over the fence like they were teenagers again. But there were moments I'd catch her staring at the front door, her hand resting on her chest like she was expecting it to open. Like she still wasn't sure who she could trust. One night, I found her going through an old wooden box in her closet. "What's that?" I asked gently, crouching beside her. "Letters," she said, her voice distant. "Your mother used to write me when she moved out. I saved them all." She passed one to me. The paper was soft with age, the ink slightly faded. "Thanks for not siding with Lena about the dress," one line read. "She always finds a way to twist everything." I looked at Grandma, and something in her face cracked. "I used to think if I kept forgiving her, she'd grow out of it," she whispered. But she just got better at hiding it. We didn't say much after that, but I knew what she meant. That realization, that your child is the one hurting you, is a kind of grief you can't name, and I hated that she had to carry it. About a week later, Ms. Patel called. Her attorney submitted a motion for a hearing. She's trying to challenge the restraining order. My jaw clenched. On what grounds? Claiming emotional distress and reputational damage, that she was unfairly painted as a thief by selective editing and manipulative framing. She's actually doubling down? She is, Ms. Patel said calmly. But we'll be ready. I hung up and stared at the living room wall for a long time. This woman, this monster, was still trying to flip the narrative, still trying to play the victim in the story where she stole, lied, defamed, and emotionally terrorized her own mother. It was time to finish this. The hearing was set for the following Thursday. I didn't tell Grandma at first. I didn't want her stressed, but she found out anyway when the official court notice arrived. I'm coming, she said, as if daring me to argue. You don't have to. I want to. So we went. She wore her navy sweater, the one with pearl buttons that matched the necklace Lena had tried to steal. She insisted on walking in herself, even if slowly. When we entered the courtroom, people actually turned to look. Not because she was famous or anything, but because she radiated a kind of quiet dignity that demanded attention. Lena was already seated, looking thinner, angrier. She barely glanced at us. The judge entered. The hearing began. Lena's new lawyer stood and spoke with theatrical flair, throwing around terms like character assassination and irreparable harm. He even claimed Lena had suffered health issues due to the stressful fallout from my public campaign. Ms. Patel was patient, professional. She laid out the facts, calmly replayed the footage again, submitted expert testimony on the validity of the digital evidence. Then, she asked permission for Grandma to speak. There was a pause. Then the judge nodded. Proceed. Grandma stood slowly and walked to the front. The room quieted. I am not confused, she said, her voice clear. I am not coerced. I'm not being held hostage. I'm just tired. Tired of watching people I love try to destroy each other, and tired of pretending my daughter hasn't hurt me. You could have heard a pin drop. I saw the video, she went on. It broke my heart, but it also freed me. For years, I convinced myself she was just passionate, that she cared in her own way. But it's not care when someone lies about your grandson to try and take everything from you. That's not love. That's cruelty dressed up as concern. I stared at my shoes, trying not to cry. The judge thanked her. She returned to her seat without looking at Lena once. The decision didn't take long. Motion denied. Restraining order upheld. Legal fees to be paid by Lena. As the gavel came down, a quiet sigh escaped from my lungs. It was over. At least the courtroom part. Outside, the sky was overcast, but Grandma still smiled. Feels like rain, she said. But it also feels like peace. We went home, both exhausted. I helped her into bed and sat with her until she fell asleep, her breathing soft and steady. Later that night, I opened Facebook and saw Lena's latest post. When the world turns against you, stay silent. The truth will surface. It always does. But the comments told a different story this time. You were caught on camera. Let it go, Lena. You lost. Maybe look in the mirror instead of blaming everyone else. I closed the app and for the first time in months, didn't feel the need to respond. In the days after the hearing, things became quiet, not just on the outside, but inside me too. For the first time in months, I could breathe without feeling like I was being watched. There were no more surprise visits, no more anonymous letters, no calls from blocked numbers. Lena disappeared from the public eye like a storm that had blown itself out. Her Facebook page went dark. Her lawyer dropped her. Grandma was lighter. I don't mean physically, though she did start eating better, but emotionally, spiritually. Her humor returned. She began humming while folding laundry again. Sometimes I'd catch her pausing mid-song, lost in thought. But when I asked if she was okay, she'd just smile. I've been old a long time, she said once, but this year made me feel ancient. Now I'm trying to get back to just being old. We laughed. One afternoon, while watering the small potted violets she kept on the windowsill, she asked, "Do you think she'll ever apologize?" It was a fair question, one I had buried beneath every court document and voicemail and hateful comment. No, I said. I think she might regret, but I don't think she'll ever admit she was wrong. Grandma nodded slowly. I thought so too. Still, the family wasn't entirely done unraveling. A few cousins reached out to me more seriously this time. Not vague texts or empty DMs, but real conversations. Marta, the same one who had made that awful Facebook post, showed up at our front door one Saturday with a box of pastries and a knot in her throat. I messed up, she said before I even offered to let her in. I believed what I wanted to believe. And I think that's what everyone else did too. I stared at her for a moment. I didn't hate her, but I didn't know if I could ever trust her again either. You didn't ask, I finally said. No one did. You just assumed. I know, she said. I wish I hadn't. We ate quietly in the kitchen. Grandma didn't say much, but at the end of the visit, she touched Marta's hand and said, "Next time, ask. Don't whisper about family like we're strangers." Others followed, slowly. Phone calls, long voicemails, a few handwritten letters. I didn't respond to most, not out of bitterness, but because I didn't know what they were asking for. Forgiveness, redemption, closure. Maybe they didn't know either. One day, while sorting through Grandma's old file cabinet, I found a folder labeled Lena, 2009. Inside were records of a loan Grandma had given her over a decade ago. $10,000 for a failed business. It had never been paid back. There were notes in Grandma's careful script. Told her not to worry about it, Christmas Eve. But she promised to repay. When I brought it up, Grandma waved it off. She had a way of making you forget who owed what. She never paid you back. She paid in other ways, she said, a little too quickly. Then, more quietly, not all of them good, I let it go. But a part of me started to see just how deep Lena's manipulation went. Not just with me, but with Grandma. It had started long before this past year. This wasn't a sudden betrayal. It was a culmination. And then, just when I thought we were finally out of the woods, it happened. It was a Thursday afternoon. I was in the backyard trimming back some vines when I heard the front gate creak. We weren't expecting anyone. I wiped my hands and rounded the house. She was standing there, Lena. No warning, no text, no lawyer. Just her, on the sidewalk, staring at the house like she didn't know whether to step forward or run. I froze. She looked thinner, worn. Her makeup was too heavy, like she was trying to paint over something broken. "What are you doing here?" I asked, stepping onto the porch but not coming any closer. "I'm not here to cause trouble," she said quickly, hands up like she was walking into a bank. I need to talk to her." "No," I said. "Please," she insisted. "1 minute." My mind raced. This could be a setup. She could be recording, trying to provoke something. But then Grandma's voice rang out from inside. "Who is it?" Before I could stop her, she was at the door, squinting through the screen. "Lena?" she asked. Lena flinched like the sound of her name hurt. "Hi, Mom," she said softly. For a moment, I expected Grandma to close the door, or yell, or cry. She didn't.